how are ya? On today's installment of the Letterboard of Truth, our quote of the day is, "This is a judgment zone." Today, we're revisiting a fan favorite subreddit of the channel, r/AmITheA. This is the place where users post a situation as they're trying to determine if they are indeed the and then it's left up to the court of public opinion, aka other Redditors. Out of all the subreddits I've covered, r/AmITheA is definitely the one I peruse the most in my free time, because naturally I'm a very nosy person. I'm gonna do my best to avoid making blanket assumptions about the people involved in these scenarios, because I don't know them in real life. I don't know how the dynamics are behind the scenes. So my judgment will solely be based on the information presented to us, and I recommend you do the same thing. With that being said, let's jump into the first post. Ooh, this one was locked less than a day after it was posted, so you know it's gonna be juicy. Also, I should mention for some of these that by the time I got around to filming this video, there has already been a verdict made. However, I am not just gonna blindly go into each story believing it. I'm gonna read till the end and form my own opinions. Okay, let's start. Am I the for telling my wife I'm mad that she didn't let me have my friends over? Last Saturday, I went over to a friend's house to hang out with the guys, the bros, the broskies. My wife, who gave birth to our son 6 weeks ago, also had her friend over to our house. So I finish up at the gym, head over there, and sit down to play some games. After playing for about 30 minutes, my wife calls me, her friend is gone now, and asks if I can come home because a bump on her skin has gotten more painful, and she doesn't want to be taking care of the baby alone when it's painful for her to stand and walk at this point. Previously, it only hurt while she was sitting. Obviously, I'm disappointed that I have to leave, but it is what it is. So I get up and tell my friend who gave me a ride over that I need him to give me a ride home. Everyone is confused and upset that I'm leaving, especially since now they're going to be short a person for their game. On the ride home, I call my wife and suggest that I just bring my friends over to my house instead. That way I can help with the baby whenever she needs me to, and I'll still get to hang out with my friends whenever I'm not needed by her. She says that she doesn't want people over, and we hang up. At this point, I'm mad. After I get home, I lay down next to her. 15 minutes of silence. She obviously doesn't need me at the moment. I finally ask myself out loud, what am I gonna do for the rest of the day? This guy's pissing me off. She immediately starts crying and saying, "Are you seriously mad right now?" I tell her yes. I'm not mad that she wanted me home, but I'm mad that she won't let me have my friends over when, in my mind, it makes no difference to her. They'll be out in the living room for the whole time. It's not like she's gonna be leaving the bedroom anyways, since it hurts for her to walk. Before I continue, I'm trying to figure out where this bump is, because it hurts when she stands and walks, but it first hurt her while she was sitting. What part of the body is this on? Not that it matters, because, you know, it hurts and it's bothering her, but I can't tell. Probably her back, maybe? I don't know, I'm not a f***ing doctor. She has no reason to in the first place when I'll be in the house and will be available at her beck and call. She says my priorities are all wrong. I tell her that she comes before my friends, but that I don't see why I can't be there for her when she needs help, and then also be able to go out into the living room to see my friends when she doesn't. That way we're both happy, right? She gets all the help she needs, and my Saturday plans that I've been looking forward to all week aren't spoiled. She says I don't get it, that she needs moral support, and I won't be able to provide that if my friends are over. I don't understand this, because I know for a fact that if I came home and just hung out playing games in the living room when not actively helping her, that she would be fine with that. She even admitted this was true. After we argued, she took an ibuprofen and felt no pain at all until the next day. Please don't leave negative comments about my wife being a baby or anything. I'm not here to make her look bad or to bash her. I love and care about her a lot. I just need to know if I was being a jerk or not. I'm sorry, are you 5 years old? All right, I'll do the ad. Spring has officially sprung, sinners. It's a time of growth and transformation, and Dipsea is here to help you explore the sensual side of this season of renewal. Dipsea is an app with hundreds of short, sexy audio stories designed by women for women. They bring scenarios to life with immersive soundscapes and realistic characters. You can discover stories about second chance romances, adventurous vacation flings, and hot and heavy hookups. A variety of audio stories are available for straight and queer listeners, and 56% of Dipsea stories are voice acted by people of color. With Dipsea's sexy audio stories, you can indulge in your blooming desires, newfound passions, and thrill of taking risks. You can also listen to stories voiced by Serenus J. Jackson, ER Fightmaster, and Luke Cook, and I'm telling you, you've never heard celebrities like this before. New content is released every week, so in between listening to your favorite stories, you can find new ones to explore. Sleep stories and wellness sessions are also available on Dipsea, as well as sexy stories to read. Let Dipsea be your go-to place to spice up your alone time, relax and unwind, explore your fantasies, or heat things up with a partner. For listeners of the show, Dipsea is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipseastories.com/AnnaMarie. That's DIPSEA stories.com/AnnaMarie. Once again, that's dipseastories.com/AnnaMarie. Thank you very much to Dipsea for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to your scheduled programming. The only person that looks like a baby here is you. So I'm not a parent. I don't know if I ever will be a parent. So take what I say with a grain of salt. I understand that being a parent, especially a first-time parent with a newborn, can be tough. I'm sure there's a huge adjustment period when it comes to the parent lifestyle. You know, I'm sure they prepared for the 9 months leading up to the birth of their child. But once the child is here, it's a whole different story because now you actually have a little human you need to take care of. Because you're a parent, that's what you signed up for. And if you can't handle cutting your plans short because your wife needs you, what does that say about you as a father? Okay, so this next part is me making an assumption. I'm already being a hypocrite, but it's based on the information presented to us, so keep that in mind. How do we know that, say your friends did come over, that you wouldn't be complaining if you had to get up for your wife every 10 minutes to help her or the baby? Like, you know what? When you're a parent, you're gonna need to make sacrifices for your kid and for your family. That's part of being a father. That's part of being a parent in general. And you know, your wife is 6 weeks postpartum. She's still healing. I'm sure it's just as overwhelming for her as it is for you. I'm sure it's a huge life change for her as well. And you know, as the husband, it's important you be there for her. Also, please correct me if I'm wrong or inaccurate, but isn't there a certain period after the baby is born where you can't have people over the house? I mean, I know the wife invited her friend over, but like, is it different if there's like a bunch of people over, especially, you know, people that aren't in the family? Because I would imagine like the baby's immune system is still developing post-birth, but let me know. I could be completely wrong in that. You can always play games with your friends at a different time. And this newborn stage will pass eventually. But regardless of that, she's your wife. This baby is your child. Why wouldn't you want to be there for them? Like, clearly your priorities are not straight. Be there for your fucking wife and kid, dude. But like, my friends need me. We're playing Fortnite. They need me on the fucking team or whatever. Okay. And I think this person is definitely the asshole in this case. No question about it. They're complaining like a little kid. He's complaining like a little boy. He's complaining like a kid whose mom told him he had to come home early. He's acting like a little bitch. I'm sorry. Not to completely come after this guy, but one final thing. You know, if I'm in pain, if I just gave birth, I wouldn't want a lot of people around or people that I didn't trust around. You know, your wife just pushed out a baby. Why would she just want a bunch of dudes running around being loud and playing video games in her living room? Like, I would want to be alone with my family or with a friend that I really trusted. And I imagine she's closer with her friend than your friends. I don't know, like, you can't reschedule a different day? Is it really a big f***ing deal that they need to play Fortnite or Roblox or League of Legends or whatever with that one person? And also, your friend should understand, like, you're a father now. You know, obviously your baby and your wife are gonna take precedent. So yeah, you are definitely the I feel like I went on a tangent on this guy. I promise I'm not just gonna go after every single person we talk about today. Come back to reality, dude. That's all I'm saying. So the verdict from Reddit was that this gentleman was indeed the So let's read some of the top comments. You're the and so are your friends. Why on earth would they be confused that you were going home to your wife and newborn? You have a newborn and a wife who hasn't physically healed from the birth yet. You should be at home taking care of the two of them. Your job right now is to make life easier for your wife, not harder. It's also hilariously optimistic of you to think people are going to say anything negative about your wife. Yeah, it seems like your wife is raising 2 children now. So that's great. I hope he straightens out this behavior now because it's only going to get worse as the kid gets older. All right, so let's move on because I feel like we spent a lot of time on that one. Am I the for telling off my mother-in-law for insisting my daughter doesn't have a real What the f? My 4.5, she's 4.5? Why are people commenting on her for And all right, okay. My 4.5-year-old daughter has a stomach bug and has been having some diarrhea. My wife needed to take our son to an appointment and I needed to work from home today, so my mother-in-law came to watch after our daughter. My daughter needed to use the bathroom and I was going to excuse myself from my online meeting, but my mother-in-law said she had it. A bit later, my daughter came up to me and asked me to wipe her. I said to her, "Didn't grandma help you? She knows how to wipe, but with her having diarrhea, we're helping her." She said, "Yes, but grandma wiped wrong." She said grandma wiped in instead of out. We've taught her to wipe out instead of in. Yeah, that's what I was taught growing up, and I've always done that. I excused myself from my meeting to help wipe my daughter correctly. I went to find my mother-in-law in the kitchen. I asked her, "Daughter says you wiped in instead of out." She said, "I wiped her. You think there's a better way?" I told her it's not healthy to wipe into the you need to wipe out. She said, "And you have a I said, "No, but I have a daughter and I won't let her get an infection by wiping poop into her." I mean, it makes sense because poop is, waste coming out of your body. And by wiping it in, you're reintroducing it to the body. And plus, the is already very sensitive and you don't want to throw off the pH balance. Plus, it's just gross. Wipe out, folks. She said, "Daughter doesn't have a real yet. There's no chance of infecting anything." I said, "What? Of course she has a real she's a female." She said, "Girls don't have real until they're teenagers, and that there's no chance of any infection because their doesn't actually develop until they're a teenager." I was dumbfounded and I got angry. Yeah, I remember the day I got my I was 13 and the delivery man knocked on my door and said, "Ma'am, here you go." And boom, suddenly I had a working I said to her, "You're a woman. You raised 3 daughters. I'm married to one. You can't possibly be this stupid." I know I said I wasn't going to assume, but assuming this person is from the United States, and I can only speak on the United States because I've only lived here, the sex education system needs an overhaul. Because what the f is this? Like a 70-however-year-old woman and not know that you are born with the As a cis woman, these are the consequences of the American school system. She told me I'm out of line and said if I can't appreciate her help, then she's leaving. I told her I'm perfectly, in fact, definitely more capable than her of caring for my daughter and that she's welcome to get out. She did leave, and about 10 minutes later, my wife called me and said her mom was furious with me and said I was terrible to her and made her leave without any reason. After explaining, my wife is on my side. Am I the for defending my daughter's real? No, you're not, because you're right. You are correct. That's literally basic hygiene 101. I am dumbfounded as well, because how do you not know how your body works as an adult woman? And also, even if our didn't pop up until we're teenagers, how do you not see that wiping waste back into the body is not disgusting? That can lead to infection or whatnot. And he wasn't even coming at her specifically. He was just saying that her technique of wiping was wrong. And he was correct. She was simply being corrected. And it wasn't a personal insult whatsoever. He's just looking out for his daughter's health. I feel bad for that granddaughter. I feel bad for that husband. At least his wife is on his side, though. I can understand why she would take her mother's side at first, because, that's your mom, that's your family. But I'm glad the wife has common sense. Gross. Weird. Next. Am I the for not telling my friends I'm a lesbian? This one also has a verdict, just like the first one, but I'm gonna wait till the end after I read it all to form my opinion. I started university in September 2022, and I quickly made an amazing friend group. We were all really close and hung out a lot on nights out. A week ago, I told one of my friends I was a lesbian. I've known I'm a lesbian for years, but I was too scared to come out to anyone. She was the first person I told. She was silent for a long time, and then she told me that it was terrible that I hadn't told her when they met. She said she would have acted differently if she'd known I was attracted to women. For example, not change in front of me, go to the toilet with me in the club. It's true that I've been with my friends when they were getting changed and in their underwear, but I've never stared or acted in a predatory or creepy way. 2 of my friends have blocked me. Apparently, they assumed that I hid the fact I was lesbian so that I could act like a straight girl and creep on them. Am I the Absolutely not. You are absolutely not the I felt like a personal connection towards this one since I am also a lesbian, so I feel like I have room to say stuff. This is just feeding into the whole predatory lesbian stereotype, assuming that we're trying to go after and turn straight girls. When first of all, it's bold to assume that you're your friend's type, and second of all, being gay doesn't mean you're a predator. I mean, this just reminds me of the commercials from like the mid 20th century of like gay guys being predatory towards little boys. That's not a good sentiment to have. I think most of us are fully capable of being friends with people of the gender or genders we're attracted to. Lesbians can be friends with other women, gay men can be friends with other men, and you know, same thing with straight people. Like, that's just like such a bold assumption to think that just because your friend likes other women that she was trying to prey on you. That's not okay. That's like a pretty move. And you know, while this may suck for this user right now, the one who posted this, you know, sometimes the trash takes itself out. And, you know, she doesn't deserve to have horrible people like this in her life. And I hope she is able to make new friends who are more than accepting of her. Thankfully, I've never had to deal with this when I was coming out, and hopefully I never will. There's a reason why some people take a while to come out, and this is one of them. But yeah, this attitude, man. Bestie, if you're watching, I hope you find better friends. Anyway, am I the for refusing to pay for my friend's girlfriend's meal at a restaurant? See, this one intrigued me because I think the topic of who pays for what when going out is very interesting, so I'm excited to give my take on it. So at a local restaurant recently, I went there with my girlfriend, her sister, my friend, his girlfriend, and 3 other friends with nobody else brought along. So as you can imagine, there was 8 of us at the table and it was crowded in the restaurant already, so the waiters weren't really happy to see such a big group to turn up and have to seat them. It started to get awkward when they couldn't see a free table immediately, but eventually they did, and we sat down. I originally offered to pay as I had invited them all and never had the liberty of paying for once. I unfortunately do have some money problems because of gambling, but I'm clean for 2 years now and have really been getting on with my life with a new job and more pay. Congrats on breaking the addiction. Proud of you. Even with the struggle, I thought I could easily pay for everyone, but apparently not. I thought people would know unofficial boundaries for money spending, but I wasn't expecting what happened with my friend's girlfriend. She asked who's paying. I said me, and she then began to eat and make sure she chose the most expensive stuff she could on the menu. I thought she can't be serious right now, but I thought let's see where it goes. Surely she knows what someone would want to pay for, but I was wrong. But after about an hour and 30 minutes of this and 4 rounds of drinks for her, I said to a waiter, "Can I have a check?" When he came back, it came to a grand total of just over 260 euros or pounds. I don't know which one is which. I was astonished. I could afford it, but that doesn't mean I want to pay for it. So I refused to pay for her bill of $113 and asked her for the full amount or some form of payment towards it. She refused and called me an asshole. I originally believed she was taking the mick out of my generosity, but now I understand that she's normally like this. I've never gone out with her before, but her accusation made me rethink myself, and I had to ask, was I an asshole? Which I can't decide on internally. Okay, this is a really complicated situation. Typically, when I go out with my friends, we all just pay separately. If we all got a similar amount of items, we just split the bill evenly. Otherwise, you know, we try to break it up by item. That's typically when I go out. But if someone's paying for me, I feel bad. I don't know. I feel bad when someone pays for me, even if it's like my family or my partner. But when that happens, I try not to overindulge. I don't want to take advantage of their kind, you know, gesture. I don't know. Like, I think his friend's girlfriend is sort of the asshole because she is taking advantage of the fact that someone else is paying. But like, also, I don't know, should he have communicated more? Like, maybe let his friends know that there's a limit on how much he could pay? I'm really conflicted here. I don't know. I think the best way to avoid conflict is to just split the bill evenly. I mean, obviously, unless it's like someone's birthday or a special occasion or something, then I think it's fine to like treat them. Or even if you just randomly want to treat your friends, that's fine too. Whatever works for you. I'm just saying I typically prefer to go Dutch when it comes to going out with friends, which means like to split the bill. I don't know. I think they both kind of suck here because it's like, yes, she took advantage of him, but like he should have, I don't know. I don't know. Oh my God. I kind of want to see what other people said on Reddit because I can't make up my mind. So let's go check out some of the comments. Not the asshole. It's an unwritten rule that if someone else is paying, you let them set the pace of expenditure. She counted for nearly half the bill when there were 8 people eating. Yeah, that makes sense. The full bill bill was $260 and her portion was $113, that's $147 divided between the rest of you. If the math is correct, then you are definitely not the asshole here. Yeah, after some consideration and reading other comments, I don't think he's the asshole here, just because, I don't know, I feel like it's common courtesy to, not take advantage of someone's kindness if they're paying for you. Yeah, like the fact that, according to someone's math, her portion of the meal took up half the bill. Yeah, I definitely think that she should cover that. Because it's one thing to order a meal and a drink, but to just order rounds of drinks and get the most expensive thing on the menu, that takes some fucking audacity. So yeah, final verdict, this person's not the asshole. Am I the asshole for swearing at a coworker for contacting me while on Do Not Disturb? Oh, this is gonna be good. I have a coworker who comes to me for assistance. That's fine. However, when I'm on Do Not Disturb in Teams, he will send me multiple emails or call me on my phone. It's never anything important, just minor stuff that could wait until my meetings are over. I've talked to him 3 or 4 times, telling him that he needs to either wait or if he must email me, it has to stop at 1 and I'll reply to him when I can. He sent me emails every few minutes asking for an answer. If I decline his call, he'll call right back. He's been talked to by management about this. Last week, I sent him a terse email when he emailed me several times during an important meeting. Stop. I've told you I'll get back to you when I can. If I'm on Do Not Disturb, that doesn't mean unless your name is Joe. This is the last time I'll be polite. Finally, he emailed me again on Monday, multiple times. So I replied with something along the lines of, do you know how to effing read? Have you listened to a goddamn thing I've said? Do Not Disturb means leave me the F alone. We've had polite conversations about this, but I'm going to be more blunt. Off. You're actively hindering my work. No, he's not trying to bait me. He just thinks that he should be able to get an answer right away from a person. He and a few coworkers claim I was an asshole and out of line for swearing at him and being demeaning. Am I the asshole? So Joe is clearly an asshole in this situation because this person set boundaries multiple times, had to get management involved, and he's still harassing this person for an answer for, I assume, a very basic or non-important question. So yeah, Joe is definitely the asshole. And I don't blame this person for getting mad. I definitely would be frustrated. But since this is work and it's a professional environment, it's probably not best to curse out a coworker, especially in writing, because that could become a legal issue or an HR issue very quickly. I definitely think they could have handled that a lot better or a lot differently. I think one thing they can do on their end, I don't know if it works for Android, but on iPhones, you can set different focus modes for work or sleeping or personal, whatever. And you can have it set to where certain people's notifications won't come through in that mode. So he could set his phone on work or something and make sure Joe's calls don't come through. I think that could be a solution. Same thing with email notifications. I don't know, Joe, because he sounds annoying, but also I think this could have been handled a lot differently and a lot more professional. The verdict of this was everyone sucks, and I would agree. But honestly, and this might sound terrible, I'm sure it felt great to tell Joe to fuck off after all this time. All right, last but certainly not least. Am I the asshole for not warning my classmate that my friend is a lesbian and letting him be publicly humiliated? I don't know how to start posts like this, so I'll just get into it. I, female 17, am in a class with my friend Hannah, also female 17. I forget that people are under 18. If you're born after 2005, no you're not. That sounds fake to me. Hannah is a lesbian, zero interest or attraction to men at all. The other day, Hannah was homesick, and the guy who sits next to me, Mason, male 16, approached me about Hannah. We talked a little before, and we're kind of friends. He asked a bunch of weird questions, nothing sexual, just questions about her hobbies and interests. Does she play sports? Is she in any clubs? Stuff like that. I gave vague but honest answers. Then he asked me if she was single, and that's when I caught on. I had a moment of mini panic. Hannah doesn't really try to hide her sexuality, but she isn't super open about it either. I didn't want to out her, but I didn't want her to have to deal with this rando. I ended up just telling him that he's definitely not her type. The bell rang, so we both went to our next classes, and I hope to God that he took the hint. Spoiler alert, he didn't. Oh, God. Today, while students were still milling around before class, he got down on one knee. Oh, Mason. Oh, Mason, my little brother in Christ. Why on earth would you do that? He got down on one knee and asked her to go out to the movies this Saturday. The whole class was silent for a moment before she said, "No, sorry, I'm not interested." But why? I'm a great guy, I swear. It'll be a good time, I promise. Mason, you know I'm a lesbian, right? Ugh, nice guys always finish last, am I right? Just take the L and move on, buddy. The whole class bursts out in laughter and Mason sulks back to his seat. He started crying and sat down. That's when class started. After class, Mason came up to me and told me that I'm an for not warning him that she was a lesbian. That if he'd known, he wouldn't have asked her out. Another kid, Mason's close friend, I think, came up to us to back Mason up. At first, I was sure that I was in the right, but now I'm not so sure. Am I the Well, as a lesbian, I can tell you that you are not the I totally understand being in that weird limbo of being out to people, but also not being out to people. So I think this person was in the right to not out Hannah to other people, because at the end of the day, it is Hannah's business. That's her place to share if she wants to or not. So I think, no, this person is not the And I also think Mason could have cut it with the dramatics and not proposed to her. It would have been better if he pulled Hannah aside, like in the hallway or before after school at lunch or something where they would be alone, said, "Hey, I'm interested in you. I think you're cute. Would you want to go to the movies this weekend?" And if she said no, which obviously she did because she is gay, just take the L and move on instead of being like, "Oh, I'm so good. Like, you would be lucky to have me. I promise we'll have fun." You reap what you sow. I think he needed a little bit of humbling. I know he's 16. He's immature. He's got a lot of growing up to do, and I'm sure he will. Hopefully he will take this as a learning experience and move on. Shout out to this person. They're a good friend. And shout out to Hannah, because I support lesbians. That's all I have for today. I'm really excited to hear your input and your thoughts on all of the situations mentioned, so please do not hold back in the comments. If you would like to see me go through Am I the Asshole again sometime in the future, please let me know down below. And in general, if you have any future video ideas for me, I have a Google form linked in the description where you could submit those. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, make sure to give it a tiny thumbs up and subscribe down below. Otherwise, you are the Thank you again to Dipsy for sponsoring today's video. I love you guys, and I'll see you very soon with a brand new video. Bye! Yeah.